Alright, so today again we have a biology paper, paper 2-1, May, June 2024. Okay, so we'll go through this paper, we'll discuss it and put the answers also. Alright, so let's start from number 1. Number 1 says a person touches a hot object and rapidly moves their hand away from the hot object. Which characteristic of living thing is this an example of? We have excretion. Now excretion is about removal of metabolic waste. Growth is about increasing in size. Alright, reproduction is about giving birth to individuals of the same kind. So if we are touching something and then we are rapidly moving our hand away, then this has to be sensitivity. So here we'll take sensitivity. Number 2 says, which type of organisms are used in genetic modification because they have plasmids? Alright, so the organisms that usually have plasmids are bacteria. So we'll go to our choices here and select bacteria. Number 3 says, the list shows some of the structures contained in cells, which are cytoplasm, cell membrane, cell wall, and chloroplast. How many of these structures are found in the cells of all living things? Now, of the features that have been listed here, cytoplasm, cell membrane, cell wall, and chloroplast, you find cell wall in plants and some organisms like bacteria, alright? You'll find chloroplast also again in plants. But if you're talking of many cells in general, we expect them to have cytoplasm as well as cell membrane. Alright, so the features that we can find here in other living organisms will only be 2, and that is going to be B. So we choose B. Number 4 says, a student draws a red blood cell. The diameter of the red blood cell is 20 millimeters. The actual diameter of the red blood cell is 0.08 millimeters. What is the magnification? Now, we can have that simple way of finding magnification, which we can say like I am. Alright, this way, you put it in a triangular form. Okay, so if you're looking for magnification here, magnification is going to be the observed image over actual. Alright, so from here we have that the actual image was 0.008 millimeters and the diameter that was drawn over there was 20. So take 20 divided to 0.08, and of course that will give us a magnification of times 2500, which is D. So we'll choose D over here. Number 5 says, samples of plant cells from the same species are immersed in 3 different liquids. The low concentration sucrose solution has high water potential than the plant cell cytoplasm. The high concentration sucrose solution has lower water potential than the plant cell cytoplasm. Now when we say low concentration, it means we have less amount of what? Of salt. Hence, we'll have high amount of water. That's why we say it has higher water potential. And when we say high concentration of sucrose solution, it means we have high amount of sucrose than water. That's why we have low water potential. Then, what is the state of cells in the different liquids? In distilled water. In distilled water, we have high water potential. So if we have high water potential, it means water is moving into the cell, right? And that will cause the cell to become turgid. In low concentration of sucrose solution, again, if we are in low concentration of sucrose solution, it means we have high water potential. Then again, water will be moving into the cell, and of course, the cell will also be turgid. But when we have high concentration of sucrose solution, it means now we have high sucrose solution with less amount of water. In this scenario, water will be leaving the cell or getting out of the cell, and eventually the cell will become plasmolysed. For question 5, we'll go with D. Number 6 says, which process requires energy from respiration? Active transport, diffusion, osmosis, or transpiration? So the process that is being spoken about here, which requires energy, is actually active transport. Number 7 says, the diagram shows the sticky ends of a DNA of a plasmid that has been cut by restriction enzyme. The unpaired bases are labeled. So we have here the bases CAGT, G. Now we know that base C is always paired to base G and base T is always paired to base A. So if we are to pair here, this will be CGAT, GC, TA, and GC. all right, which is actually choice C. Yeah, choice C. We can say GTCAC, so it will be C. Number 8 says a test was performed on a food substance. A positive result was shown by a color change to blue-black. What solution was used? Now, if we use a certain solution and we see the color is blue-black, obvious, the solution that we have used here is iodine solution when we are testing for starch. So our choice will be C. Number 9 says a student investigates the breakdown of fats in milk by lipids. 4 test tubes labeled A, B, C, and D are set up. The table shows the contents of the test tube. In which test tube will the content become more acidic most quick? We have milk in this test tube, except test tube D, choice D, where we don't have milk. Then we have bile in both test tubes, except in test tube C. We have boiled lipids in all test tubes except test tube A. And then we have lipids that is not boiled in A and D. Okay, so we go. They all have milk, bile. So bile will break down the fats so that it can speed up the rate of breakdown of or digestion of lipids. Then you have boiled lipids, which is absent over here. Then here you have normal lipids, the one that is not boiled. So it means you have enzyme which can act on what? On the milk. The other condition here in B, you have milk, you have bile, you have boiled lipids, but you do not have lipids that is not damaged. So the digestion here is going to take a while. In C, you have boiled lipids, and then you don't have normal lipids, and of course you don't have bile. So the digestion here is going to not take place because the lipids is boiled, so nothing is going to act on that lipids. Then for test tube D, you don't have milk. Now bile lipids cannot act on nothing. So eventually our correct answer would be A. Alright, then we go to number 10. Number 10 says the diagram shows an experiment to investigate the effect of increasing light intensity on rate of photosynthesis in an aquatic plant. The rate is found by measuring the rate of bubbles released by the plant. As light intensity increases, the rate of bubble release increases and then becomes constant. Which statement describes why the rate of bubble release becomes constant at high light intensities? Now we are at high light intensity, it means light is at its maximum. It is not acting as a limiting factor anymore. So if this is the case, something else has to be a limiting factor. Choice A says carbon dioxide has become a limiting factor. B says light intensity has become a limiting factor, which is untrue. Oxygen availability becomes a limiting factor. We don't need oxygen in the process of photosynthesis. Of course, oxygen is a byproduct of photosynthesis. Water availability becomes a limiting factor. So here the right choice is carbon dioxide. Alright, so carbon dioxide will be a limiting factor. Number 11 says, the diagram shows a section through the leaf of a flowering plant. We have parts labeled A, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Part 1 is the palisade cell. Part 2 represents the vascular bundle. Parts of the vascular bundle, so does 3. And part 4 represents the sponge mesophyll cells. Alright, in part A, you can see these little black-like structures, as well as part C. These ones represent the chloroplast. Now, where does photosynthesis take place? Photosynthesis will take place in the parts of the leaf that have chlorophyll, which is definitely the palisade cells and the sponge mesophyll cells. So 1 and 4, which is B. Okay, number 12 says the diagram shows part of the mental canal and associated organs. Which labeled part stores bile? Now, you have to know that bile is made in the liver, but after it is made in the liver, where is it actually stored? It is stored in the gallbladder, and the gallbladder is this part over here. So we will choose C. Number 13 says the list contains statements about villi. 1. Villi increases the efficiency of absorption of nutrients. 2. Villi increase the efficiency of alveoli during gas exchange. 3. Villi provide large surface area. 4. Villi filter urea from the blood. Now you have to understand that villi, these are finger-like projections found in the small intestine. Alright, they act in the digestive system to bring about absorption of what? of nutrients. All right, so at the end of the day, villi will increase efficiency in absorption of nutrients, but also villi will provide a large surface area for what? For the absorption of these nutrients. So for question 13, we'll have choice 1 and 3, which is B. Number 14 says, the diagram shows carbohydrate molecules as they pass through the alimental canal. Which role represents the molecules? Before, we have like 3 columns. Before taking into the mouth, after some time in the mouth, and after some time in the small intestine. Now, before you take it into the mouth, which means it's a large substance, a big substance, that is either A, B, or C. After some time in the mouth, it will be broken down by the process of physical digestion into some small molecules, which can now appear as B. And then after some time in the small intestine, they'll be broken down into their smallest units, which is this part here. So correct choice here is going to be B. Question 15 says, which row shows correct information about 3 digestive enzymes in humans? Okay, 3 digestive enzymes in humans. All right, lipase acts in acidic condition. No, lipase acts in alkaline. Is secreted by the pancreas. Okay, secreted by small intestine. No, acts in small intestine. Yes. Maltase acts in the stomach. Not really. Secreted in the mouth. No, maltase is not in the mouth. In the mouth we have amylase, salivary amylase. Acts in alkaline conditions. Yes. Acts in the stomach, small intestine. Yes. Trypsin secreted by the pancreas, right? Acts in acidic condition, not really. It's secreted in the stomach, secreted in the pancreas, not stomach. Acts in alkaline condition. So trypsin acts in alkaline condition. Maltase also acts in small intestine, but lipase also acts in what? In small intestine. So we'll go with D. Number 16 says, which substance found in a healthy diet helps to prevent constipation? So a healthy diet, so as to prevent constipation, it should have foods that have fibers. Alright, so fibers are necessary to prevent constipation. Number 17 says, when is the transpiration rate of a well-watered plant the highest? On a cool, dry, windy day now, of a well-watered plant, the highest. So if it's a well-watered plant, it means it has high rate of humidity. Okay, yeah. On a cool day, we do not have high amount of humidity, so it cannot be the highest on a cool day. On a cool, dry, wind day, a bit the temperature is not that much high. Anyway, on a cool, wet, windy day, also we still have other amount of water in the atmosphere from the conditions, so we cannot have high rate of humidity as well. Okay. C says on a hot, hot, so high temperature, the plant is like having a high rate of transpiration. Dry, which means it's the condition is not having a high amount of water. And windy day, so wind is actually carrying the water around, it can easily be blown away. This says on a hot, wet, windy day, on a wet day, the rate of transpiration or rate of humidity cannot be high because you already have high amount of water. So definitely it is a C. Number 18 says, which statement is correct for a flowering plant during photosynthesis? Flowers, fruit during photosynthesis, so making food. Flowers, fruits, leaves, and roots are all sources? No. Roots are not sources, especially for a plant that is flowering. All right. Fruits are sources? No, fruits are not sources. Leaves are a source? Yes. Leaves are a source of sucrose, and the fruits are sinks? Yes. Roots are sources, roots are not sources, so it is C. Number 19 says, what is an advantage of having double circulatory system? Alright, so A, it uses less energy because blood flows through the heart only once in each circuit around the body. Blood flows twice for double circulation. Concentration gradient of salts and gases are kept low. Deoxygenated and oxygenated blood are separated to allow high rate of oxygen supply. That's correct. It maintains high pressure blood. It maintains high pressure blood flow to the lungs and low. No, that's not correct. So definitely for number 19, it is a C. We'll choose C. Number 20 says, the diagram shows the external surface of a human heart. Which part is blocked in coronal heart disease? So in coronal heart disease, it means the coronal arteries have been damaged, all right, or they have been blocked. So here we'll have to single out the coronal arteries which are blocked. Number 21 says, one of the symptoms of the disease cholera is diarrhea. This is due to water loss by osmosis caused by cholera toxin. What is the effect of cholera toxin? That results in diarrhea? So the cholera toxins usually produce chloride ions into the small intestine. Now, accumulation of chloride ions in the small intestine does lower the water potential. Hence, water from neighboring cells get into what? Into the small intestine, resulting to diarrhea. And that is choice C. Number 22 says, which statement about immunity is correct? A part of antibody molecule has the same shape as antigen it acts on. Babies develop passive immunity from the antibodies they receive in breast milk. Phagocytes produce antibodies. Vaccines contain weak antibodies. Now, vaccines do not contain weak antibodies, they contain weak antigens. Phagocytes do not produce antibodies. Antibodies are usually produced by lymphocytes. Babies develop immunity from the antibodies they receive from the mom, which is a form of passive immunity. Number 23 says, what are the functions of the diaphragm and the cilia in the human gas exchange system? A diaphragm contracts to cause breathing in. Yes. Contracts to cause breathing out? No. Relaxes to cause breathing in? No. Relaxes to cause breathing out? Yes. Okay, cilia, carry mucus to the throat? Yes. Trap bacteria from the air? No. Filter dust from the air? Kind of. It can be filtered. Produce mucus. Mucus is produced by goblet cells. So our right choice here, which is aligning both of the two, is choice A. So here we'll choose A. Number 24 says, vigorous exercise can cause an oxygen debt. Which process removes oxygen debt? Now, this lack of oxygen results into formation of lactic acid. This lactic acid is then carried in the blood to the liver, where it is completely broken down by the process of what? Of aerobic respiration. Okay? Yeah, so it's completely broken down in the liver by the process of aerobic respiration, which is A. Number 25 says, in healthy people, which substance is completely reabsorbed into the blood from the kidney? Nephrons. In healthy people, glucose, salts, urea, water. Now, these salts, urea, and water might not be reabsorbed, but glucose has to be completely reabsorbed. So we'll single out glucose. Number 26 says, what would be the pupil size and lens shape of a person reading a mobile phone text message in a brightly lit room? So in a brightly lit room, you have the pupil size or the lens size would be large, okay, or fat, but the size of the pupil will be small, so as to allow only a certain amount of light to do what? To pass through, or to moderate the amount of light that is passing through, because you have high amount of light. So pupil size will be small, but lens will be big, like that. Number 27 says, what describes how the body maintains constant internal temperature on a hot day? Vasodilation. Alright, so vasodilation, which is like expansion of the blood vessels to increase blood flow to the skin surface capillaries. Okay, so vasodilation to increase blood flow to the skin capillaries. Number 28 says, what would lead to a decrease in blood glucose concentration? Increase in adrenaline. Increase in adrenaline increases amount of glucose concentration. Increased release of amylase. Amylase will break down starch and result to increase of glucose. Increased release of glucagon. Glucagon will convert glycogen back to glucose. Increased release of insulin is correct, because insulin will convert the excess glucose to glycogen. So we'll take D. Number 29 says, which statement about antibodies is correct? Antibodies do not affect bacteria but kill viruses. Antibodies do not kill viruses. Antibodies do not affect bacteria or viruses, they affect bacteria. Antibodies kill bacteria and kill viruses. No, they only kill bacteria. Antibodies kill bacteria but do not affect viruses. Yes, so it is D. Number 30 says, the diagram shows the carpel of a flower just after pollination. What is the name of the part labeled X? So this part which is going through the style of the flower is usually known as a pollen tube. This one here. Number 31 says, the table shows the percentage of sperm with different abnormalities in samples from people with normal fertility and to people with low fertility. So person 1 is a person with normal fertility and person P and Q are people with low fertility. Okay, so we start with percent of sperm with no acrosome. For a normal person is just 2. For person P, 25% they don't have acrosome. And for person Q, it's also 2%. Okay, percent of sperm with deformed flagellum for a normal person is just 11. Person P is 11 also, but person Q, it is what? 35. Percent of sperm with fewer mitochondria, it's just 4 for normal person and 4 for person P, but 30 for person Q. Now, what are the causes of low fertility in person P and Q? For person P, the causes of low fertility is sperms with no acrosome. For person Q, it is sperms with deformed flagellum as well as what? Lack of mitochondria. So P will take too many sperm cannot digest the egg coat because they do not have the enzymes, they are lacking the acrosome. Alright, now we go to person Q. Too many sperm cannot digest. No, that's not true. Too many sperm cannot move to the oviduct as they have deformed flagellum. Too many sperm cannot digest collect. Also, too many sperm cannot move to the oviduct. So it is definitely B here. Okay, yeah, so we'll take B. Then we go to number 32. Which word is used to describe stem cells? So stem cells are unspecialized cells that form specialized cells. It is D. Alright, number 33 says the graph shows the concentration of 4 hormones during the menstrual cycle. Which line represents progesterone? Alright, so the line that is representing progesterone is definitely line B. Alright, line A here, this is representing the luteinizing hormone. Line C is presenting the estrogen hormone. And line this one is not labeled, the follicle stimulating hormone, which is definitely this one here. Okay, number 34 says the pedigree diagram shows the pattern of inheritance of a genetic disorder in 4 families. This genetic disorder is not sex linked. Which pedigree diagram proves the genetic disorder must be caused by dominant allele? Which pedigree diagram proves the genetic disorder is not a dominant allele? It's not caused by a dominant must be caused by a dominant allele but not 6. A cannot be the answer because we see it more in males. When we come to B, it's not dominant, alright, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 normal people, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of people who are abnormal. For person C over here, again, they all have diseases. But when we come to D, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5 abnormal people and only 3 that are normal. So for person D here, it is what? Dominant. Okay. Then number 35 says, what are the correct statements about meiosis? So meiosis does not produce identical cells. And of course, meiosis is not involved in repair of tissues. So it will be D. Number 36 says, the photograph shows a species of fish called leafy green sea dragon. Leafy sea dragons live in areas of the sea where seaweed is present. Which statement explains how natural selection caused the leafy sea dragon species to develop? Leafy sea dragons look like seaweed, were better adapted to the environment. Okay. Leafy sea dragons that survive passed an allele of their appearance to their offspring. Humans selected the leafy sea dragons. Now, one thing about natural selection, no, it has no human intervention, so humans have no choice over here. But 2 is correct, that the ones that they survived passed their appearance to their offspring. But also, they are looking like sea dragons, so of course they were adapted to what? To this environment, the one that looked like weed. So our choice here is going to be choice 1 and 2. 1 and 2 only, which is B. So we'll take B. Number 37 says, what is the main source of energy input in biological systems? So the main source of energy input in biological systems is usually the sun. We'll take the sun over there. Number 38 says, which organisms remove nitrates from the soil? A. Denitrifying bacteria and nitrogen-fixing bacteria in root nodules. B. Denitrifying bacteria and plants. C. Nitrifying bacteria and plants. D. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria and root nodules. So denitrifying bacteria are the ones that can convert nitrate ions or nitrate in the soil back to what? To nitrogen. So we'll say nitrifying bacteria remove nitrates from what? From the soil, which is choice B. Number 39 says, what are the 2 reasons for organisms becoming endangered? Is it habitat destruction? Monitoring means you're observing, all right? Education, people are being educated. It cannot endanger species. Pollution, exposing some stuff that is not wanted in a particular environment. Number 5, captive breeding programs. It means you're allowing these organisms to keep on breeding. So definitely it's habitat destruction and pollution. Choice 1 and 4. 1 and 4, which is A. Number 40 says, what is an example of the use of genetic modification in agriculture? Okay, so in genetic modification in agriculture, choosing cattle breed so that alleles for high milk yield would be passed on to their offspring, increasing food production by using insecticides to improve quality and yield, inserting genes into the crop plants to improve the nutritional qualities of a plant, selecting crop plants with desirable characteristics and crossing these to produce next selection. So we are talking about genetic modification. So it's more like we are using the genes or modifying the genes to get what we want. And this is choice C. All right. A choice D here, it's talking about artificial selection. All right. Yes. So our correct answer is going to be choice C. All right. And that was our last question for this paper. Thank you.